My beloved child, do not use the cracked pieces of mirror in someone else's hands to look again at your own worth. There are people who once stood very close to you, who were loved by you, trusted by you, and given the right to speak into the tenderest places of your heart. But closeness does not always mean clarity, and affection does not always guarantee that they see you as I see you. Some eyes look at you through their own wounds. Some remarks about you are, in truth, only echoes of fear, insecurity, jealousy, or unhealed places within them. They may call you too sensitive, too demanding, too hard to understand, too deep, too soft, simply because they themselves have never learned how to remain present before the honesty of a heart that needs to be cherished. But my child, do not let those broken definitions become your name. I know that you have once placed your worth in the way someone responded to you. When they were gentle, you felt lovable. When they were cold, you wondered where you had gone wrong. When they stayed, you breathed in relief as though you had been confirmed. When they left, you quietly concluded that there must have been something in you that was not good enough. But I want you to stop before that line of thought, because it does not come from the light. You were not created to live like a vessel always waiting for someone else to pour into it before knowing it has value. You were not called to move from one hand to another, hoping someone would hold you tightly enough so that you would no longer feel empty. You belonged to me before you ever belonged to any relationship. Your name was known in my love before anyone called you with affection or rejected you with silence. There are people you love dearly who have reflected you wrongly, not necessarily because they intended evil, but because within them there are still many places that have not yet been touched by the light. A person who has not learned to love themselves in a healthy way will find it difficult to look at you with complete tenderness. A person who always fears being abandoned may turn love into control. A person who has not been healed from old wounds may hurt you through the very ways they try to protect themselves. A person who is used to living in lack may not know how to receive your sincerity without doubting it. So, when they fail to recognize what is precious in you, it does not mean you are not precious. When they do not know how to treasure you, it does not mean you are not worthy of being treasured. When they dim the light within you, it does not prove that the light is small. It only shows that they do not know how to stand before the light without squinting. I do not say this so that you will despise them, nor so that you will close your heart in bitterness. I say it so that you may be free from the habit of kneeling before the opinions of those who were never given the authority to define you. You can love someone and still refuse to let them become the scale by which your worth is measured. You can forgive them and still refuse to keep standing before the distorted mirror they hold up to you. You can pray that they will be healed and still walk out of the place that constantly makes you doubt yourself. True mercy does not require you to remain in a room where you are distorted every day. True humility does not mean you must accept every false word others place upon you as though it were the truth. Remember Leah, the woman in the Bible who lived many days under the shadow of comparison. She longed to be loved, longed to be seen, longed for her husband to turn toward her with the fullness her heart desired. Each child she bore seemed to carry a sigh within it. Perhaps now I will be loved. Perhaps now I will be acknowledged. Perhaps now the emptiness in my heart will be filled. But human love, when it is not placed rightly, can become a well over which one keeps bending down to draw water, yet remains thirsty. At a certain point, Lee no longer named her life according to the absence in someone else's eyes, but turned back to praise the one who had seen her. It was there that she began to rediscover a dignity that did not come from who chose her, who compared her, or who loved her, more or less, do you see? When you keep asking people to do what only I can do, you will grow weary. But when you allow me to become your source of fullness, other loves are no longer permitted to rule over you. My beloved child, the hunger for affection within you cannot be healed by temporary attachments. A rushed relationship may help you forget loneliness for a moment, but if it is not founded on truth, it will deepen the emptiness inside you. An impure embrace may make you feel warm for one night, but it cannot build a home for your peace. A compliment may make you glow for a moment, but it cannot become the foundation of your identity. A flash of attention may make you think you are needed, but if you must lose your purity, your dignity, and your peace in order to keep it, then it is not a gift I have sent to you. Do not use fragile threads to tie together a heart that needs deep healing. I know why you so easily cling to things that do not truly nourish you. Perhaps you have waited too long to be chosen by someone. Perhaps you have been overlooked, replaced, or treated as though your presence did not matter. Perhaps you have grown used to trying harder, loving more, enduring more, explaining more, just to remain in someone's life. But I want you to hear me clearly. Love does not come from begging. True belonging does not require you to make yourself small. A connection that comes from the light will not force you to betray the peace I have placed within you. The person I send will not make you live constantly in fear that if you are not good enough, they will leave. Healthy love does not pull you away from me. It helps you become softer, truer, freer, and closer to me. So when you feel a craving to be affirmed by someone, bring that thirst to me before you bring it to a person. When you want to send a message only because you fear being forgotten, pause and let me remind you that you are remembered in every breath. When you want to cling to someone, even though your heart is uneasy, ask me whether it is love or fear wearing the mask of love. When you find yourself willing to ignore warning signs just so you do not have to be alone, let me hold the trembling part within you. I do not blame you for wanting to be loved. The desire to be loved is not wrong. I myself placed within you the ability to love and to be loved, but that sacred thing must be placed rightly. Otherwise, it will be turned into a trap that makes you confuse dependence with attachment, attention with care, control with concern, and the fear of losing each other with true covenant. There are empty places within you that only I can touch, not because people are completely incapable of loving you, but because they were not created to replace me. Others can walk beside you, but they cannot become your source of life. They can comfort you, but they cannot be the unshakable rock. They can hold your hand, but they cannot enter every hidden room of your heart as I can. They can understand part of your story, but I know even the chapters you have never told. When you give people the place that belongs only to me, you unknowingly place upon them a burden too heavy, and then become disappointed when they cannot carry it. But when I am in my rightful place at the center, you will love others more freely, without demanding that they save you, complete you, or become the only mirror reflecting your worth. Do not fear the temporary emptiness when I remove unhealthy attachments from your hands. That emptiness is not evidence that you have been abandoned. It is the space I am clearing, so I can place something pure within it. At first, it may feel too quiet, too wide, too unfamiliar, because you have grown used to the noise of bonds that hurt you. But the stillness I give is not isolation. It is a room of healing, where you learn again to hear my voice without being interrupted by the need for someone else's approval. There, I will teach you to stand firm without needing any gaze to support you. I will teach you to love without losing yourself. I will teach you to receive affection without turning it into an idol. I will teach you to know that being in me is enough, so you no longer chase after crumbs of attention. Give back to me the words that have distorted your image in your own eyes. Give me the sentence that made you think you were hard to love. Give me the silence that made you believe you were not worth choosing. Give me the times you were compared, overlooked, belittled, used as a temporary shelter, and then left behind. I will not allow those things to have the final word over your life. I will wash away from you the labels that do not belong to the light. I will place within you again the gentle certainty that you are my child, created with dignity, loved with an unchanging love, and held by an untiring hand. And when you know who you are in me, you will no longer bend down to gather broken pieces of mirror in order to find your face. Step out of those false reflections, my beloved child. Let me be the pure mirror you look into each day. In me, you are not the one who has been forgotten. In me, you are not too much, too little, too difficult, or too late. In me, you are a beloved child, known, called by name, and prepared for connections that are healthier, brighter, and more peaceful. Do not feed your hunger with temporary banquets only to leave empty again. Come to me, the inexhaustible source of fullness. When I fill you with my love, you will no longer enter relationships as a beggar of affection, but as a child who already has a home, a father, and a belonging that no one can take away. And from that place of fullness, you will learn to love with freedom, choose with wisdom, let go with peace, and walk in the light I have prepared for you. My beloved child, listen to me with full wakefulness, because there are truths given to you not to frighten you, but to save you from the dangerous sleep of indifference. I did not create you to be separated from me in eternal darkness. I did not form you so that you would lose the source of light, nor do I rejoice when anyone turns their back on grace. My heart is always inclined toward life, toward return, toward restoration, toward the day when a child who has gone far away is willing to stop and turn their face back to their father. But my child, true love does not force. True grace does not drag you through the door of light while you keep clutching darkness and calling it freedom. I make the way. I call your name. I wait patiently. I send reminders through every season, but I also honor your choice, because you are not a mindless machine. You are a child who has been given the ability to respond to love. There are people who think that rejecting Jesus is merely an opinion, a delay, something they can consider tomorrow. They imagine they have not made any decision at all, but in truth, prolonged delay is quietly becoming a choice. You do not have to raise your hand against the light for it to be called walking away from the light. Simply turning your back and continuing into the shadows is enough for the distance to grow. You do not have to declare that you reject me. Simply living as though you do not need me, letting the days pass without returning, without opening your heart, without repentance, without trust, will cause your heart to grow used to a life where my presence is not at the center. Silence before the truth is not always innocent. Sometimes it is the way you avoid an invitation that has touched you many times already. I want you to understand this with seriousness, but also with hope. The place of eternal darkness is not a place I prepared with joy for humanity. It is not my desire for the children I created in love. I do not delight in destruction. I do not stand above, waiting for you to make a mistake so I can gladly close the door. No, my child. If you could see my heart, you would see a mercy deeper than the great sea, a patience longer than the years you have wasted, and a calling more persistent than every time you pretended not to hear. But you must also understand that love does not erase truth. Mercy does not make rebellion meaningless. The door being open does not mean you can forever stand outside, loving darkness while hoping to fully enjoy the light. There are people who walk far from me, not because they hate me with their words, but because they love many other things more than me. They love their own control, their pride, their passing pleasures, praise, and the feeling of deciding everything for themselves, without bowing before the one who gave them breath. They hear of grace, but do not want to release what is binding them. They hear of life, but fear leaving the cages they have grown used to. They hear of the cross, but do not want the self to be brought low. And day by day, they choose a path that does not need the Redeemer. At first, that path may seem broad, comfortable, full of laughter and false promises, but the farther they go, the more it separates them from the source of life. In the end, the most painful thing is not that I did not call, but that you became too accustomed to not responding. Remember the rich young ruler who once came to Jesus with an appearance of sincerity. He was not an evil man in the eyes of the world. He had a respectable life, morality, seeking, and qualities that made others admire him. But when he was invited to go deeper, when he was called to place true treasure above what he was holding, he went away sorrowful. No one pushed him away from life. No one slammed the door in his face. The invitation was there. The light was there. The Redeemer stood before him. But there was something in his hands more precious to him than my call. And it was that very thing that caused his feet to turn away from the path of life. Do you see? The greatest loss sometimes does not come through loud wickedness, but through a heart unwilling to release what it secretly worships. So do not comfort yourself by thinking that as long as you are a good person, according to human standards, you do not need Jesus. Goodness cannot open the eternal door by itself when it stands apart from grace. Good works cannot cleanse the deepest places. If you reject the one who came to save you, you may be praised by the world. You may live kindly in the eyes of many. You may speak beautiful words and do right things. But if you refuse the source of salvation, you are still standing outside this house into which I have invited you. I do not want you to rely on an outward shell of morality and forget your deepest need, to be reconciled to me, to be led out of darkness, and to receive imperishable life through my only Son. I know this truth may make you tremble, but trembling before the light is better than sleeping peacefully in darkness. I do not say this to crush you with fear, but to awaken you with love. If I remained silent while you were walking toward the edge of the abyss, that would be cruelty. If I allowed you to soothe yourself with easy words, while the door of grace is waiting for you to enter, that would not be the love of a father. Because I love you, I warn you. Because I have compassion on you, I will not let you call delay peace. Because I want you to live, I will not let you mistake silence for neutrality before Jesus. There is no standing outside forever. Either you open your heart to receive him, or you reject him by turning away. Either you allow grace to lift you up, or you keep carrying the burden of saving yourself until it crushes you. My beloved child, I do not require you to understand every mystery before returning. I do not ask you to make yourself worthy before drawing near. Grace is not a reward for those who have already become perfect. Grace is the hand extended to the one who knows they cannot save themselves. What I desire from you is not a performance of religious devotion, but a sincere response of the heart. Stop standing forever at the threshold, hearing the call yet still hesitating. Stop allowing unanswered questions to become excuses for avoiding what you already know is true. Stop saying, someday, when there is still breath in you today. Not every invitation continues to sound forever with the same clarity. Not every heart remains tender when it repeatedly refuses my touch. If you fear that returning to Jesus will make you lose your life, hear me. You will only lose the chains that were once disguised as freedom. You will only drop the burdens that were mistakenly called identity. You will only leave the darkness that made your eyes grow used to dimness. What you receive in return is true life, true peace, true forgiveness, true hope, and a path that leads you closer to me day by day. The choice before you is not between joy and severity, but between life and separation, between light and darkness, between redeeming grace and the dangerous self-satisfaction of a heart unwilling to open the door. Therefore, my child, do not let today pass like any other day. Do not merely nod at the truth and then continue living far from the truth. Do not say that you respect Jesus while refusing to give him the right to enter and become Lord of your life. Do not let your lips remain silent while your heart knows it needs to return. I am still calling you with kindness. I am still opening before you the way of life. I still want to embrace you, wash you clean, restore you, and lead you out of every dark place you once thought you could never escape. But I will not pretend that your choices have no consequences. My love is real, your freedom is real, and eternity is real. Choose life, my child. Choose Jesus not only with words, but with surrender in your heart. Let silence become a word of return. Let delay become the footsteps of coming back. Let fear become trust. I do not delight when someone goes astray. I rejoice when a child is willing to return. And if today you can hear this call, know that the door of grace is still open before you. Do not stand outside any longer. Step into the light, because I have prepared for you not separation, but life. Not destruction, but restoration. Not a long night, but the Father's house where love never fades. My beloved child, do not let the days that have passed become a chain you lock around your own life. The past may leave traces, may remind you of incomplete choices, words that should have been gentler, and steps that should have been more cautious. But the past has no right to sit on the throne and judge you forever. I do not look at you as a sentence waiting to be carried out. I look at you as a child being taught, lifted up, shaped, and invited into deeper maturity. A view is a viewed. There are things you have gone through that were not beautiful, and there are things you have done that still make your heart ache when you remember them. But I can take the very place that once made you ashamed and plant there a seed of wisdom. What once made you fall does not have to become the place where you remain lying down. It can become the step that helps you rise higher, see more clearly, love more rightly, and walk with greater awareness. Listen to me with a quiet heart. No one on earth walks without ever missing a step. No one grows without learning through stumbling. A child learning to walk is not despised by their father because they fall. They are lifted up, their tears are wiped away, and they are encouraged to keep walking. You are the same. I do not rejoice when I see you sinking in guilt, replaying again and again in your mind what has passed, as though the more you condemn yourself, the holier you become. No, my child. True repentance does not lead you into the pit of self-hatred. It leads you back to the light. It does not make you stand forever before ashes and weep. It places a new seed in your hand and teaches you to sow again where everything once seemed burned. I do not deny your mistakes, but neither do I allow those mistakes to define your entire being. Sometimes you think that if you forgive yourself, it means you are making light of what happened. But I want you to understand, forgiveness is not erasing memory, nor is it pretending that the pain never existed. Forgiveness is removing the hook that keeps pulling you back into the old day. Forgiveness is allowing the wound to no longer command the way you live today. Forgiveness is handing back to me the right to judge, heal, and transform, instead of letting your heart remain held captive by old scenes, old words, and old regrets. When you forgive, you are not declaring that everything was right. You are simply declaring that the past is no longer allowed to rule your present. It is an act of courage, a holy letting go, a way of opening the door for peace to enter. I know there are nights when memory still calls your name. Sometimes a sound, a place, a face, or a sentence is enough to take you back to an old feeling. You wonder why you still hurt, why you still remember, why you have prayed many times, and yet your heart has not become completely light. But, my beloved child, healing does not always come like a great rain that washes everything away in a single moment. Sometimes it comes like morning dew, quietly covering cracked and dry ground, little by little. Sometimes I do not immediately remove the memory from you, because I am teaching you to look at that memory with new eyes. Before, you saw it as proof that you had failed. Now I want you to see it as the place where you learned humility, discernment, mercy, and the strength not to repeat the old path. Remember Peter, the one who once boldly said he would stand firm, yet denied his teacher in the hour of fear. The rooster's crow that day must have cut into his heart like a blade. He wept, because he realized the distance between what he had promised and what he was truly able to do. If the story had ended there, he might have lived his whole life under the shadow of one night of failure. But I did not allow that final weakness to become the final period. After being restored, he was no longer a man who relied only on his own confidence. He became deeper, humbler, knowing that true strength does not come from grand declarations, but from sustaining grace. The very one who had fallen painfully was later used to help many others stand up again. Do you see? I can turn repentant tears into a spring of service, bitter memory into wisdom, and one dark night into a testimony of enduring mercy. So do not be afraid to look back, but do not build your home in the past. Look back in order to learn, not to torment yourself. Remember so you may know what you have been rescued from, not so you continue living like someone who has never been lifted up. Some mistakes teach you to slow down before speaking. Some failures teach you to seek my guidance before deciding. And some losses teach you to value what is true more than what sparkles on the outside. Sometimes when you hurt, others teach you to become gentler with your words. Sometimes when you are hurt, teach you that the human heart needs to be touched with patience, not hasty judgment. When you bring all of these things before me, nothing is wasted. Even broken pieces can be arranged again into a picture, bearing the beauty of redemption. I do not call you to become someone who has never been wrong. I call you to become someone who knows how to return. I do not require you to have a spotless history before you can move forward. I invite you to let me wash your heart clean, realign your direction, and teach you to live more wisely after every season of restoration. The one who never admits mistakes will keep repeating them in different forms, but the one who dares to bow before the truth will be set free. Humility does not make you small. It opens the way for grace. Making things right does not diminish your worth. It proves that you are still soft in my hands. A heart that knows how to learn from mistakes is a heart that has not become hardened, and that is the soil into which I can sow good things. Perhaps you still wish you had chosen differently. Perhaps you still wonder what your life would be like if on that day you had been wiser, slower, braver, or more willing to listen. I understand those questions, but my child, do not let all the if-onlys consume the life of today. You cannot go back and rewrite the old chapter, but you can place your pen on the new chapter with a hand that has learned wakefulness. You cannot change every word already spoken, but you can let today's words become purer. You cannot erase every scar, but you can let them become signs that you passed through, survived, were healed, and grew. I do not need you to deny the past. I want you to place it under my light so it will no longer devour your future. So rise, my beloved child, not with the pride of someone who thinks they have never been wrong, but with the peace of someone who knows they have received mercy. Keep walking with a tender heart, with sharpened wisdom, with eyes that know how to discern, with hands ready to repair what can still be repaired, and to release what is no longer allowed to imprison you. Forgive those who need to be forgiven, including yourself, but carry the lesson like a lamp lighting the way. The past is not the grave that buries you. In my hands, it can become the garden where maturity grows from soil once soaked with tears. I am still writing your story, and the next chapter is not condemned by the one before it. Let me turn what you once regretted into wisdom, what once wounded you into compassion, and your life into a gentle testimony that no one is too broken to be made new, no one is too late to begin again, and no mistake is greater than my restoring love.